Welcome to the Sandhill Artists Collective, the virtual holiday gallery tour. I'm Bob Ware. I'm the web designer and the technical host of our webinar series here, so all the glitches are on my shoulders. We're going to have panelists today from Pink Dog Creative Studios. We will have several different artists who are going to be showing you some pretty amazing work here. So I am now going to turn this over to Louise Glickman, who is our founder, and she's going to tell you something about the Sandhill Artists Collective. Let me get her unmuted here. So Louise, it's for you.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. I can't see you, but I know you're out there, and we're thrilled to have you. This is the brainchild of the Sandhill Artists Collective, and you might ask, what is that? So about a year ago, I live in Biltmore Lake, North Carolina, a lovely community about 12 minutes from downtown. And about a year ago, about 35 of us got together. We were all interested in art or enthusiasts or professionals. And we decided on a regular basis we would show our art and talk about our processes. And ultimately, they wanted to have a studio tour where people could come out to Biltmore Lake. And then COVID arrived. So it was clear that nobody was coming to studios or to our houses. And my now best friend and cohort here, Bob, who is an incredible photographer and technical guru, we decided we would start a blog. And we've done that with a committee as well. So every month, starting last May, we feature 3 artists, and we have art news and commentary all month long, and it comes free to your inbox. We've loved it. It's been a wonderful doing it. And however, Bob and I have been funding this ourselves. So it was time to try to hire a little help from people like Andrea, who you will meet today. And we came up with this idea of a virtual gallery tour to help our artists and to give people around the country a look at Asheville's art. So that is the history behind the virtual holiday gallery tour. And with that, I will turn it over to Bob and we will get started. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Louise. We're going to be talking about Pink Dog Creative today. And I'd like to start this out with a little bit of the history of Pink Dog here. So we're going to run a little slideshow. The building that is now Pink Dog Creative was originally a warehouse for household textiles from China and was used for manufacturing prior to that. Randy Schull and Hetty Fisher purchased the building in 2010 and envisioned creating a series of working artists' studios. Fisher states, "Keep in mind, when we first bought the building in 2010, there were no other art studios on the street except for the Fine Arts League. It was a ghost town on Depot Street, as far as the arts were concerned." Randy and Hetty approached the renovation as an art project with the idea of creating a vibrant sense of place. Its bland white brick facade was transformed into a multi-hued color scheme that was inspired by their home in Mérida, Mexico, where they've spent part of each of the last 15 years. Randy, a nationally recognized artist, thought of the building as a work of art that would reflect and capture the evening light. Fisher states, "While painting the building, someone asked if we planned to paint over the tag of a small but very ferocious dog that was on the building. That was the plan," she says. But thinking as an artist would, Randy took a photo of it with his phone and suggested we blow it up really large and paint it on the building. I was afraid a huge, angry dog with its teeth bared would scare people off, so I suggested we take some of its ferociousness away by painting it pink. The colorful streetscape has become a beacon for the neighborhood. Pink Dog Creative is now a studio home to 29 artists working in their studios, Grind Coffee Bar, Fresh West wood-fired pizza, and Vivian Restaurant. Pink Dog raises funds and awareness for people and organizations working to make our communities more equitable and just, including Southside Rising, Youth Artists Empowered, and the Eddington Center, among others. Pink Dog Creative collaborated with Leaf Easel Rider and the Eddington Center in the summer of 2018 to sponsor an art day where children in the community painted what they wanted to see next on the double-decker containers in the Pink Dog Creative parking lot. 30 children participated, and the winner, 11-year-old Trinity Harper Pierce, had her design painted on the containers. Her painting, entitled Love Your Community, can now be seen on the 40-foot by 18-foot containers. When asked why she painted that particular painting and message, Trinity said, "There was a lot of violence in my neighborhood. I want people to care more about their community. When they drive by and see this, I hope their hearts grow as big as the heart in the painting. I want the love to spread all throughout my community, my city, and my county." The first Container Project mural was commissioned in 2013, and since then, the containers have been painted by artists Melissa Teresa, Cleister Cotton, Brett Douglas Hunter, Randy Schull, and Jenny Pickens. I'll now turn you over to Pink Dog creative artist Andrea Kulish, who is coming to you live from the Pink Dog Gallery.
Well, we're coming to you from Pink Dog Creative here in the River Arts District, and I'm in the Pink Dog Gallery. We have an exhibition called In Solidarity, and this began earlier this year, and it includes work of many of our Pink Dog Creative artists and friends. It includes some artists who have had work in this gallery. This gallery usually hosts a monthly exhibition. This year, however, we've had one exhibition this whole time. We actually had our January exhibition stayed up through May because of COVID, and then we started this one this summer. So this work is called Birth of Knowledge, and it's by Jenny Pickens. She's one of our local artists, and she's done some of the Container Project murals outside. This is another piece of her work, and this is called The Watcher. The Watcher is an ancestor who is there to remind us of the strength, wisdom, and perseverance we have. The red beads are worn around the neck as a symbol of fire and courage. This is a jewelry piece that's on the wall. This is by Noel Jovovich. I'm going to show you a gallery view here of the entire gallery. So this building comprises of 29 artists and 2 restaurants and a coffee shop. We have Asheville's first Black-owned coffee shop, Grind. We also have Fresh West Pizza and Vivian Restaurant. This is a piece by Stephen St. Clair, one of our resident artists here. This is called Why. It's oil paint on a textured metallic leaf, and he actually shot a hole through it. And the question is, it's entitled Why, because people see this and they say, why did you ruin this painting? He says he ruined this piece so he could ask people the same question. Look at the painting. What is wrong with the red tree? Absolutely nothing, right? It's beautiful, but it's different from the others, and it's wounded and shattered. But we do the same thing to each other, don't we? As a culture, we seem to be afraid of skin colors, cultures, and groups, rather than intrigued by them and open to learning from them. That's part of Stephen's statement on this show. So this show, we've raised almost $7,000 already for Black Lives Matter and the Equal Justice Initiative. Artists are donating portions of their sales, and Pink Dog Creative is matching all of the donations. You can see this exhibition in the gallery or on the Pink Dog Creative website. It's called In Solidarity. These are some of my artwork. These are my eggs, my Ukrainian eggs. These are a combination of Ukrainian and African symbols for protection. This is to protect our Black brothers and sisters. They're all ancient symbols of protection. And this is my series number 1, Eggs, Memorials, on which I've written the names of those who were killed unjustly. Each egg is a memorial. And when I created these, I read each name aloud as I wrote it as memorial. I'm donating 100% of all sales from these eggs to Black Lives Matter, and Pink Dog Creative is matching that. Pink Dog Creative isn't just an art studio and building. It's also a big part of the community. Pink Dog does a lot to support local community projects. This is work by Holly DeSayon. This is a collage of a Japanese gakko silkscreen printer. And this is work by Ralph Burns. It's a photograph from Louisiana, Martin Luther King Day number 8, taken in 2001. Well, these are just a few of the pieces of work here. Now we're going to go to our first artist today. We're visiting with Lynn Bregman Blass in her studio. Here's a view of the entire studio. Lynn shares this with Sarah St. Laurent. You can see they have a lot of beautiful work. This is some of Sarah's work. And we're going to talk with Lynn about her project of the Visual History Collaborative and some of her encaustic work. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, everyone out there. Welcome. I wanted to talk both about, so Visual History Collaborative started about 15 years ago with Leah Sabzi when we met at I was teaching a class at the Carborough Art Center, and we met there and we both realized that we had a real interest in history and artifacts and stories. And out of that came a collaboration that first began with what you're seeing right now, going into our own archives in the attic, finding things that you had saved because at the moment it made sense to save them, only to find that many years later they became part of Visual History Collaborative, which is a way of telling stories of your life, the small incidents and the small parts of your life, like ticket stubs or bingo scores that you have carried around with you for all of these years. Later on, and I really wanted to focus on art and community. We did a project, so the Visual History Collaborative started here, and then we recently finished a project with the Rose Community Foundation with their legacy donors. The legacy donors are the people who have trusted the foundation to leave money for them after their death. We did a project that asked, who or what inspired your philanthropy? We then we scanned or photographed the objects that they brought in, hand transfer them to receipt tape. So this is the receipt tape, and this is what we turn it into. And the donors came in with their stories of who or what inspired their philanthropy, and we got some just amazing stories. Here's one at the very bottom. Here you can see this is one of the stories that touched me a lot. Here was a man who brought in his watches. And why did he bring in his watches? Because when he was 13, he was given a watch. And there were 2 times in his life during the war and falling from a helicopter that he wore his watch and felt like the watch had saved his life, that wearing this watch had saved his life. And so he brought it in because of his philanthropy came out of that watch, that it saved him, and he wanted to donate his money to the Rose Community Foundation as a way of saving other people. So those were some of the stories we got from the foundation work with their donors, and it was lovely work. The piece is in the lobby of their building. People can come and visit. They bring their grandchildren. Everyone knows the story of why they came to this foundation, why they contributed to it. Encaustic is a particularly wonderful medium to work with because it is like an archaeological tell. So you encaustic, the opaqueness hides the history that you can glimpse down through the opaqueness, and you can see the history of a painting, which is where the Visual History Collaborative is all about, bringing the history to the present, all of those things in your past that you don't really think about, how they inform the present. If we go over here to the other side, let's look at what I mean over here in these paintings. All of this is the history. All of this is covered, and then I scrape down a lot to find the history. And really, that's what I've been doing. That's what stories are. They're all about scraping down, finding the history of a piece. And that's what the Visual History Collaborative has been about, is engaging people in telling their stories, engaging people in taking their history, bringing it forward, and finding the way it informs their present. So I think Encaustic's been a really interesting medium to work with people with and to work with the Visual History Collaborative on.
Lynn,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Could you show the picture of the community, the whole piece put together with the long tapes?
Yes, I can show you. Yes. There is this.
No, then there's the one that's in the lobby. I think it's in Durham. Yes. Explain that.
Okay, so that was a community piece that was done for the Chapel Hill and Durham community. We asked people you live in Chapel Hill, but you bring your own story to it. And so we had workshops, 500 people came. They brought their unique stories, everything from someone, I love this story of a woman who came. She came to Chapel Hill, to the university. She lifted up her shirt, and under it, she was pregnant, 9 months pregnant. And on her very pregnant belly was a tattoo of her favorite symphony. And it had only stretched to about 9 inches as she was about 9 months pregnant. Other stories, someone brought in a card from when the Boy Scouts were segregated. Someone brought in an old iron that her ancestors had used on coal stoves. Someone else brought in a baby blanket. Someone else brought in wallpaper from their old farmhouse that they grew up in. All of those objects that they had carried around with them for years and years and years became part of a story of a community. So all of the work that we have done has been about taking communities and asking them to tell their stories, because that's what they're made of. Those communities are made of their stories. Rose Community Foundation their story is about their philanthropic donors, and they told their story. Chapel Hill told the story of their residents. Habitat for Humanity told the story of their donors. also told a story about the people who now live in habitat houses, people that were living outside who would tell their stories about living outside by Whole Foods under a magnolia tree for 10 years before they got a house through Habitat. So all of our work really has been about telling stories. What you're looking at now are ancestry, a part of time, memory, and lineage. And this part of the installation was on lineage. So these are all the ancestors, and each one of these grids really tells a story. So we take pieces of images and put them together with your ancestry that all tell a story when they're put together. So this was part of time, memory, and lineage. There's, let's see.
That's lovely. And just go across the room and show the one, if you have it, the houses, so that it's also about bringing things home.
Houses?
The houses? You mean the images of houses?
No, the encaustic mixed media piece. I think you have it on your wall across the way.
Oh, there's one, there are a bunch of them that are houses.
Yeah.
I love houses because houses, yeah, there's one. Houses are where we store our memories. No, I've also worked for 35 years as a psychotherapist, so I've been listening to stories. They all come out of these houses. They are all a part of our dreams. They're all a part of, where all of our dreams, all of ideas come out of these houses. So I've loved working. I also love children's art because I think they are the free. A lot of my work, if we get to feeling like I'm coming out of that place, I will feel like I have succeeded. So, I mean, I think you can see that really most of my work is about stories, both psychotherapy and the stories I've listened to, all of the projects that I've done that ask other people in communities to tell their stories. I think the world is made of stories. And that's what I'm trying to tell.
So if people are interested in telling family history, the history of an organization, a church, a synagogue, a community, just get in touch with Lynn and she can just meet with you.
Absolutely, because it brings communities together. Mm-hmm. I can tell you the success of bringing more donors in because the foundation reached out and told their stories and made those stories so important that people connected to the foundation and were able to raise more donors as a result of their work, of our work with the foundation.
So thank you very much, Lynn. And I think we're going to move on.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. It's time to move on to Joseph's studio.
We are in the studio of Joseph A. Pearson. Joseph is a painter, and he writes, "I believe in the power of art to provoke and expand society's reimagination. My role as an artist is both observer and activist. I observe what's going on in society, internalize and mix it with my own emotions and creative interpretation, and reflect it back to society. My work reflects my fundamental belief that artists are vital members of society with much to communicate about the human condition. My work represents the Black experience from different points of view, all underscored with a sense of respect and dignity. I am a native of Mississippi. I graduated from Jackson State University with the BS degree in art education. I trained at the Art Students League of New York City under scholarship from 1970 to 1975. I served in the Army as an illustrator for 3 years. I graduated William Carey College with the Master of Education in 1994. I worked as an illustrator at Stennis Space Center in Mississippi for 20 years. During that time, I participated in numerous museum exhibitions and competitions. Some awards include a Mississippi Artist Fellowship, a Vermont Studio Residency, a U-Cross Foundation Residency, most recently, a Hambridge Center Residency, Louisiana Division of the Arts grants, an Artist Entrepreneur Grant, 2 Pollock Krasner Foundation of New York grants, an Artist Fellowship Incorporated of New York grant, and more. We moved to Asheville from New Orleans 5.5 years ago. I have been a resident artist at Pink Dog Studios from the beginning. During this time, I have been active in the community through the arts as well. I have curated several exhibitions, taught drawing workshops, and created several murals. The paintings that you have been looking at are A Mother's Angst, which speaks to a mother's worry about the safety of her children, especially her sons. Lamentation, the image of the woman with her head in her hands, speaks to a mother's receipt of unpleasant news regarding her child. The painting Hooded Scholar is intended to contradict the perception that all black males wearing a hoodie are criminals. The Good Troublemaker is a portrait of the late Congressman and civil rights activist John Lewis, who coined that phrase speaking to civil disobedience. These types of work represent my more activist art. I do lighter works as well, such as pet portraits and some of the figure drawings that you are about to see.
I'm going to be making a couple of gesture drawings. And gestures can loosely be defined as what we're trying to accomplish in gesture is to get the essence of the figure. That is, we want the energy, we want the attitude, and we try to simplify this as much as we can. Detail is not important at this point. So I won't be fussing with detail. And I'll get in some relative proportions, but again, accurate proportion is also not the key. And what I'm going to do on top of this, I'm going to make a loose line drawing to suggest the overall gesture and come on top of that with an ink wash. The purpose of the ink wash is to accent that initial line, accenting, highlighting the gesture, and to give the figure a little two-dimensionality in space. Okay. And I figure with the wash, I give myself maybe 1.5 minutes. And gesture by nature are short, anywhere from 5 seconds to 5 minutes. So that we don't get caught up in unnecessary detail and to keep that energy flow. Okay? With that said, let's see how it works. I'm gonna make a couple of drawings, just two, just to see what we got here. I have a couple of models here that I work from now and then just for practice. There's our line work. Let's put a little wash on top of that. I ran out of my India ink, so it's not coming out as dark as usual. But that's okay. We can still make the point. And there we are. Drawing number 1. Just to prove to myself that this was not a fluke, we're going to do it again. We'll make another one. Just a wee bit more challenging, but that's the whole point. Okay. Give myself 30 seconds. We want that shadow pattern. That shadow is what helps define the form. And there we are. Let's just put something in this chair. She's not floating in space. And we'll leave it alone.
Beautiful. Wonderful work. Thank you so much, Joseph.
Yes.
That is remarkable how quickly.
Just attitude. The way her head is thrust out there and get the neck crane and bend it over like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all we want.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Hello, I'm going to show you today how I make this pendant, which is called the Balangai pendant, and it's from a collection that's very personal to me and is based on my family's Filipino heritage. So, just to give you a little bit of background, this piece is based on a traditional boat from the Philippines called the Balangai, and I just really love the long, narrow shape of it, and it's the oldest watercraft found in the Philippines. And so I chose to put a pearl in because I wanted to kind of mirror this watery texture that I got on the metal, and I think it's kind of nice because it almost looks metallic more than a pearl. So, to start, I take a template and just trace it onto my silver, and then I saw it out with my jeweler's saw. Just to give you an idea of how this all works. And it comes out like this. And then I'm going to go over and form it with some dapping tools. So I also used to use a leather sandbag, but I really like the way this soft pine block gives it its texture, and it also has this nice groove that kind of holds the piece for me. So I just start while I move up and down the piece. And I move down in size. And I kind of turn it just to kind of get it a little bit even. But you can see it's starting to get that shape. And then the smaller punches really help give it the texture that I like. If you can see that. Then I just move down one more. And kind of straighten it out because I don't really want it to be too curled, but I do want it to have a nice groove in between. So that's got that nice texture and a nice groove to it to hold the pearl. So my next step, I'm going to take this pearl, which I really like these rough gray freshwater pearls that have a lot of irregularities. It helps match the metal. And I've measured the pearl to figure out how far apart to drill my holes. And I take a piece of sterling wire that I've balled up. It's about 24 gauge. And I'll feed it through. And I like to wire them in versus just gluing them in because I think it's a more secure way, and I just like not having to use the glue. So the bald end will stick out a little bit right here. And just make sure that the pearl is sitting the way that I want it. And I pull it pretty taut. And then wrap it around and make sure to keep that wire straight against the metal. And I wrap it around 2 or 3 times. And I'll just snip the edge off. And that is mostly finished. And then I will attach a bail to it. And that is the finished piece.
I'm not sure that everybody realizes this, but Andrea is actually handles marketing and social media for Pink Dog Creative and River Arts District. And while we are doing all of this changing from video to hearing from the artist directly, she is moving around to studios which are not all on the same floor. So, so I wanted to explain to you what some of the interruption is about.
So I am also granting microphone permissions to all of you who are in the audience. You may see a little box pop up saying that you can unmute your mic if you would like to ask your questions. So feel free to do that, and we will try to answer them live here. Let's see how this works.
I have a question. My question is, what is the exact hours, or are they open at Pink Dog Collective?
So I can answer that. We are, because of COVID, unfortunately, our hours are a little bit less than usual. Usually we are open every single day. Someone is here every day of the week. And we still are open. So you will find the best day to come by, if you just want to come by, is Saturday. Most people are open. The second best day is Friday. Another thing you can do if you really want to see a certain artist is just contact them, look at our website, find their contact info, and ask them when they're going to be in.
I wanted to find out, I didn't mean to start my video, but anyway, I wanted to find out if Joseph Pearson does his paintings from photographs.
The answer is yes. I asked for several of the potential clients' favorite photos as references, and from those references, I'll pick one I think makes the best painting.
Are there any other questions out there? Because
No, but I'd like to thank everyone. This was great again. I was here last night and it's been wonderful. Thank you.
So who's that speaking?
Deb
That's
Holden.
Deb Holden.
Hi, Deb. Well, I just want all of you to know that because Andrea has been the chief organizer for the first 2 days, that these first two have followed similar formats. Now, tomorrow we're going to go to Blue Spiral 1, which many of you know is one of the largest galleries and one of the most comprehensive in terms of various types of art. And Michael Maines, who is the director of Blue Spiral, is going to do a very special tour for us, a very private and special tour, which is going to be most informative. And a good portion of that is going to be devoted to the glass art of Alex Bernstein, who is a very famous glass artist that I think you all will enjoy seeing. So I wanted you to recognize that each one of the 10 galleries is doing a different program. And some of them will be demos, some of them will insert videos. It's a large variety and it's a very intimate look. So please expect something different each day. And we will always have a Q&A. And I personally think that it would be interesting to know from our panelists just how they have adapted their studio and also the work that they're doing to this period of isolation with COVID. I don't know who wants to take that on first, but any of the panelists. Hello?
Hi there,
Hi.
Christy is going to answer that
So
first.
I have a very small studio, and I've had to really limit the number of people that come in at once. And most people have been really great about it. We've also got a lot of signs posted all around about wearing masks and social distancing. and sanitizing. And, you know, I thought it was going to be difficult with jewelry as far as sanitizing everything, but, you know, people are very careful about touching things for the most part. And so it's been easy to really sanitize surfaces and any jewelry that anyone's tried on.
Have any of you had to adapt your work to marketing more online? How do you talk with people, and are less people coming in? I've heard from some gallery owners that they are actually doing better in COVID, and some are not. And I was just wondering how you're dealing with this.
Well, it's interesting. I have sold more in the last month than I had in a while. And I wondered if people were traveling less, so they had a little extra money, or whether they were just at home so much that they really wanted to make their spaces filled with things that made them happy. So, so that's what I've wondered. I didn't come in from about January until August. And when because I was afraid to touch anything. I was afraid all I could see were big red balls of COVID floating everywhere. That was all I could see. And now people are very respectful. I think we understand more about the virus. Everyone's wearing masks. I have a big fan in my studio that makes me feel a little safer. So it's been interesting. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Lynn.
Sure.
Joseph, have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say that most of my work inquiries have always come from my website anyway. I just recently opened my studio to the public for a couple of hours, like from 1 to 4, every day, 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. And I do have a fan that I run whenever there's someone else in the studio besides myself, just to kind of keep the circulation going. And the website is josephart.net.
Thank you.